Hi everyone, it's Bella, the founder of the Embodied Wellness Institute from Miami, where I'm spending a week. And naturally, the topic of pleasure came up. And here's why, because I've been living in Brazil for the last 10 years, and every time I come to the United States, I feel obvious clash of the cultural clash, right? The different values. But interestingly, for those of you who have been to Miami, you realize that Miami is very different. It's not really the United States. It has this Latino culture here. And I kept trying to understand what is it that makes this culture so different. And I really believe it's about living in more alignment with our natural ways and really allowing ourselves to feel pleasure. And because I work with the Sensefulness Method, which is precisely about allowing more pleasure into our life, I wanted to talk about pleasure as a healing tool, pleasure as a natural way of being, pleasure as an intervention, a powerful intervention that can help us transform our physical health, mental well-being, and that's used at a populational level even to really change behaviors. Let's start with the way that we were designed as human beings. We were wired in a certain way, our body works in a certain way, and if we summarize it, in reality, it tries to avoid pain at all costs and seek out pleasure. So by creating our society on, with our neocortex, we have sort of decided that animalistic side of us is no longer valid, that it's somehow lowly and unworthy. And so we have really created a society that denies our natural way of being. So everything we do in reality in the modern day is completely misaligned from our natural way of being, because we have really said this, the way that our body is designed, we don't have to follow it. We don't have to follow our inner desires. We don't have to follow our inner pleasure. We're stronger than that. The productivity is achieved by the no pain, no gain approach, that we have to really push through. We have to conquer nature. And this is where we've found ourselves. We've found ourselves at an intersection, a really important point in our history, where some of us realize that we can't fight against nature, because we are nature, and if we fight against nature, soon enough we'll find ourselves on a planet that's not functional anymore, that's dead, because some of the ways that we exist and we live in the modern day are absolutely go against life. And pleasure, for me, is the key in this. How so? So first of all, pleasure, to understand how it works in the body, when you experience pain, your body basically shuts down. It goes into a lower vibration mode, and it releases a lot of the stress hormones like cortisol, and they pretty much leave your body in survival mode. When you experience pleasure, the opposite happens. When you experience pleasure, like dopamine and opiates and serotonin are flooding your brain and your entire body, and you experience, feeling good, the feeling of euphoria. And those feelings are the opposite of that stress, so they bring you out of it. It's almost like a switch. It's an on and off thing. It's not a gradual thing. You're either in one state or another. And that state, our body was designed in a way that in that state, our body works at its best. It's in its healing mode. That's where our immune system works really well. In reality, when you're feeling good, when you're flooded with those good feel-good hormones, your killer cell capacity increases by 30%. Your body's ability to repair its tissues increases by 50%. So there are real physical benefits to feeling pleasure. Then we move on to the mental well-being, right? So when we experience these feelings of pleasure, even if they're just for short periods of time, they take us out of anxiety, they take us out of depression. Let me make a quick note here. There is this debate going on about negativity and positivity, and if we overemphasize positivity, that it somehow could be toxic. I completely agree with that. I think actually that labeling emotions as negative or positive is a fallacy, because emotions are created in our body to communicate something that our body needs. So in that sense, emotions are necessary, and all of them are really good. It's just how we interpret them and how we act upon them. We should redirect the conversation from being positive or negative into really connecting to our pleasure mechanism, connecting to our inner joy. To me, pleasure is not the hedonistic term, it's a term of this inner joy and happiness that we feel in the moment, not happiness in the long term, but happiness in the moment. So what can I do in this moment? Every moment you ask yourself, what can I do in this moment to feel better in a natural way, right? That's the pleasure that I call sustainable pleasure, the pleasure as a guide, pleasure that could lead you to your health, to that healing state that we described. It could lead you to states of the mind that are much more relaxed, and in those states you can create really positive associations. Let's say if you're working and you make yourself experience a positive feeling, then you create this association and you create really powerful habits that will stay much longer and be much more sustainable than if you try to force yourself to do something. That's why, in healthy living that I used to work with a lot, it doesn't work for you to do the no pain, no gain approach, because eventually you get burnt out. But if you find activities that feel good, if you find foods that feel good, if you find, things that work for you in all these different aspects, not just for losing weight, then these activities become sustainable and part of your life. Finally, I want to talk to people who are interested in spiritual development. Somehow it's been, our body and bodily sensations of pleasure have been really also reduced to this like animalistic lower self, and we should ignore it in order to reach spiritual enlightenment. I think that's bullshit, to be honest. Both of those have to be incorporated, because our body is where our spirit resides. This is all we have. This is our vehicle. And if we are not using our body's natural ways, we're wasting. We're actually, the energy that we have is finite. So when we're using that energy to fight against our natural ways of being, our inner desires, then we're actually not leaving any energy at all. But if we flow with our energy, as the Taoist approach is, flowing with the river, the Tao, the way, the natural way, then we're able to open up to higher consciousness. And that's really what happens when you, it's not avoiding pleasure, it's actually giving into it. And in those moments when you've said, okay, I've experienced pleasure, but then the door opens for you to experience the higher states of pleasure, which is this consciousness and enlightenment that people talk about. And in ancient times, people used sexual practice, sexuality as a way to enlightenment, because it is the most intense feeling of pleasure that you can experience as a human being. And in those states, you're absolutely disconnected from everything else, and you're in that state where you can reach, connect to higher consciousness. So how do you incorporate pleasure back into your life? Well, if you're constantly fighting against yourself, you're doing something wrong. So really examine and see what would make me feel better now, not 5 years down the line, I have to work and then I'll buy a house by the beach. But today, how can you make yourself feel better in this moment, in this day? Breathing and just really pausing and meditating, or doing something where you connect to your body. I think breathing is the best way. Doing some vibrational exercises like singing, all of those connect you to your body, so you can really feel that what you need to do to feel better immediately. And in the beginning, if you've never done this, if you connect to your body, you might experience the negative emotions. Embrace them. Don't run away from them, because those negative emotions eventually will tell you, this reality that I've created is not working for me. So then you shift, and then you start experiencing more of the positive emotions. But it's also important not to get stuck in those negative emotions, and to remember to, in the beginning it might be artificial, but bring on things that make you feel good. Take that bubble bath and spray your room with smells, or buy a bouquet of flowers that make you feel good. Go out dancing, get a massage, really engage with your partner intimately, or give yourself pleasure. Those things eventually make you get used to feeling pleasure, and that becomes your way of being. Pleasure is a really powerful instrument. If you want to learn how to incorporate it back into your life, because our society has taken it out in some masterful ways from us, I really encourage you to get in touch with me and see how you can really bring pleasure for to enhance your healing capacity, to really bring back physical health, mental, emotional well-being, and find more purpose in life. Because purpose really starts with the present moment. And if you're not enjoying the present moment, that purpose that you think will make you happy down the line will never make you happy, because you haven't learned to enjoy the present moment. So I'm really excited to really start working with you in a format that I call wellness mentorship, where we can look at all the different aspects of your life and really understand how you can create one road to pleasurable wellness that's yours, that it's authentic to you, and that makes you feel good every moment of your life. Thank you.